Good day. It is Althea from the Bible in 1 year. Today we spend time in Psalm 105, the good and the bad, the highs and the lows. The psalmist here writes a compilation of highs, lows, good and bad, favored and unfavored, instructions and promises to expect from God. The character of God stood the test of time through what God has done for his people. He ends the psalm with an important key for us, a key that will bring wisdom and freedom to your heart. The psalmist writes in verse 1, "Give thanks to the Lord." The Institute of Heart Math Research Center in California found that positive emotions like appreciation significantly lowered levels of cortisol. Being thankful helps you bond and lead to better relationships. Chronically high cortisol levels may lead to persistent high sugar levels that can cause type 2 diabetes. Maintaining a thankful heart will not only benefit your long term health but also improve your overall relationships with others and with the Lord. Verse 1 to 3 speaks of the heart attitude of being thankful and spending time in relationship with the Lord. The instructions in verse 4 and 5 is seek and deeply long for the Lord, for his strength, power, his might, and his presence continually. Remember with awe and with gratitude the wonderful things which he has done. This speaks of a heart turned to God, focused on him, what he has done and what he is capable of, reflecting on and maintaining the intimate relationship with the Lord. The psalmist then focused on the legacy of God that stood the test of time as it is shared through on generations in verse 8 to 10. God made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as an everlasting covenant. God not only promised to give the land of Canaan as their inheritance, but he also fulfilled the promise in verses 14 to 15. The misfortune which came upon Joseph was sent from God. Moses was sent ahead to Egypt, first as a slave, then in prison, and then favored by God, moved into position of honor to save his people from the famine. In this season of pain, Joseph was tested and taught by God. He became an elder of wisdom, perfectly positioned by God in verse 22. The good turned into ugly, and then ugly turned into something very good. Verse 19 read, "The word of the Lord tested and refined him." Charles Spurgeon says of the Lord's afflicted ones, "They too shall step from their prisons to their thrones." This reminds me of Job after he had lost everything. Job 2 verse 10, "But he said to her, You speak of one of the spiritually foolish women speaks, ignorant and oblivious to God's will. Shall we indeed accept only good from God, and not also accept adversity and disaster?" In spite of all this, Job did not sin with words from his lips. The psalmist credited God for what he has done for the generations in verse 23 to 44. He greatly increased their numbers, made them more powerful than their enemies. He sent them great leaders and done greater miracles for them. He dealt with their oppressors in Egypt with the 10 plagues. He brought them out of Egypt with silver and gold, the riches of Egypt. The Lord provides shade and warmth in the desert. He fed them with manna and water from the rock. He brought them into the promised land, for God remembered his holy word promised to Abraham. In Deuteronomy 6, verse 10 to 13. They reap what they have not sown and inherit what they have not built, a land flowing with milk and honey and splendid cities. This gives much hope as we could rest assured if God promised, He will not fail. Let us remember Deuteronomy 6 verse 13. You shall fear only the Lord your God, and you shall serve Him with awe-filled reverence and profound respect. The psalmist shared the key with us in verse 45, so that they might observe His precepts, keep His laws obediently, accepting, honoring, and valuing them. May you call unto God in the good and the bad, the highs and the lows. Maintain a thankful heart and keep faithful even in affliction. May you be blessed. Goodbye.